4 and a bit days to go now. It's starting to get a little bit hairy. It's going to be fine. It's a long course. It's Saturday night as I'm recording this, and I don't normally work weekends. This one I'm working a bit of, and pretty much have to. It's so hard to judge, the workload that's left, because 80% of every day is taken up by small fires that have started during that day or during the night. Just like, fuck, this thing needs dealing with. It's the most like chaotic crunch of miscellaneous tasks that, usually even if I'm like working on some coding thing and a million different problems happen in different departments, I can still like summarize roughly, well, it was a lot of edge cases, or it was a lot of like difficulty with the UI system, or a few different things like this. Every task is so different to every other task that it's just, I can't even summarize what I've spent my time on. It's so all over the place. And I guess like general principles are true, as always, of like every little job that you think is this much work, it also has like 8 other connected tasks that you can't foresee and that only come up once that job is done, or once you think it's done, and then realize, oh it doesn't work because of this, or like, I just tried to put up the proper version of the soundtrack. We're using Steam soundtrack system this time, so you get the soundtrack if you buy the special edition. And in the past, we've always just given you a folder full of files. And I knew Steam has a soundtrack system now. Let's try and use it. And that was very complicated. And then today, I was using placeholder files to test everything, just to make sure I understand the system and that we can deploy it. And then our composer, Robert Arzolo, was preparing the actual real soundtrack. He got it over to me yesterday. And so one of my jobs today was like, okay, let's put that in. Let's make sure it's the real thing. And I think I had to upload it like 5 times in the space of about half an hour. Just every single time there was something wrong. And it's incredibly hard to detect the errors because when you see it in the Steam soundtrack system, for some reason you have to set ID3 tags, like you have to tag the MP3s themselves, give them track information, track names. That will make sense. Great. Happy to do that. Probably good thing to do anyway. We would do that anyway. But then Steam doesn't use that information. You have to also supply a separate CSV file that separately lists all the information, and it will treat that as gospel and ignore the other thing. Which means if something's gone wrong, the track list will look right, and it will seem like all the tracks are there, but then when you try and play the track, either you could get nothing at all, because that track isn't there at all, but also, even if that track isn't there, it might play a different track, because the CSV is saying, well, track 17 is this, track 17 is called this, and then the 17th file in the folder is this one, and neither of them might have 17 in the track. Anyway, it's insane. There are many, many problems, but I'll give you one example. Rob supplied, he put the tracks into Dropbox, and then I took them out of Dropbox and put them over to Steam. I noticed a problem right away, which is there was one track that was missing. The track that should have been second wasn't there, and I immediately figured out what the problem was and fixed it, which is Rob had used a question mark in the track name, which he's using a Mac, I think, and on Mac that's fine. Our PCs can't handle it, so when you share something via Dropbox, that silently fails. So he doesn't know. On his end, it successfully uploaded to Dropbox. Nothing went wrong on his end. On my end, it didn't appear, but I never get any error message about that. Dropbox never says, like, oh, I couldn't download this file because I had a question mark in its name. It's just silently gone. And when that's track 2, you notice it right away. I fixed it, got a new file name without a question mark in it, uploaded the whole thing. I also needed to change something about the way the ID3 information was set. It was slightly quirky in a certain way. I apologize for the sirens. I hope that's not drowning me out too much. And I used a thing called ID3 Tagit, which is a thing I've used that my whole life, I feel like. It's like from the 90s. Back in the day when MP3s was my entire music collection, I used that thing. So I knew to find it, and it's a brilliant batch processing of this thing. Just takes all the busy work out of it. And I used that, uploaded the soundtrack, got the soundtrack back in Steam, and it all looked right. And I tried playing the last track, and nothing happened. And I tried playing track like 2 tracks from the end, and it played, but it seemed to be the wrong track. And I had verified that that it's a 47 tracks on the soundtrack, and I checked that not only is the number of the last track 47, but also there are 47 files in the folder. So job done, right? I've checked 2 different ways that there are 47 tracks, and that they're definitely all there, and yet they're not all there. And what turned out had happened was that when 2 simultaneous problems happened that perfectly cancelled out their own symptoms. So the question mark thing, turns out there were actually 2 other tracks much deeper into the soundtrack that had question marks in and therefore never got synced to me, so I was missing the files. So then why did the 47 file thing work? Because separately to that, when I saved the ID3 tags in my tagging program, I don't know why, but exactly 2 of them didn't save immediately. It wasn't like it wasn't that they couldn't be saved, it's just that when I clicked save, that didn't happen for those 2 tracks, even though it was a batch edit. And what that does is create 2 temporary files, one for each of those tracks that didn't save. So 2 files went missing, and 2 different files appeared in roughly the same place with like similar names, different file types. So if I'd really looked, I would have seen it. But it meant I had exactly 47 tracks, 47 files for 47 tracks, but not the right 47. And so, like, Jesus Christ. And so that... Hopefully with that, you can start to see how there are 5 different problems in a row. And the process for updating it is fair play to Valve. They make it as easy as they can do. But deploying any new thing to Steam and then getting all the way through the process such that the end user sees the changes is always going to have a bunch of steps and a bunch of delays and a bunch of waiting. So it's just infuriating. And that's been my whole week, at least. Just non-stop, like, this is broken for some real, like, nitty-gritty esoteric reason that's so hard to spot until it's gone wrong, and you have to be so rigorous in testing everything and trying to be the end user to the most authentic way you can. It's a real problem that you can't unown things on Steam. Like, as a developer, I automatically own everything, so I can't test on my own account. I can't test what it's like to, like, buy the special edition upgrade. You know, get a technically it's a DLC when you upgrade to the special edition. And I really want to not have it so that I can buy it and then see what that process is like. But I can't. I can do it with test account, but then I also need to generate CD keys, because as soon as you're not on a developer account, now you also can't grant it to yourself. You have to. If I granted it to myself, I would be granting everything to myself. So I'd need to get CD keys. For that, you have to request them for Valve. Then a human at Valve actually has to manually approve them, so you can't do that on short notice. And yeah, just endless things like that. I got me thinking about, like, is it harder to launch games now in 2024? Because I've launched in 2013, 2017, and 2024 now. So a wide range of experience at this. And each one has been harder than the last. This, I would say Heat Signature and Gunpoint were in line with each other, not too different. I think the difference with Gunpoint was that Gunpoint was truly done, like, more than a month before we launched, I think. Like, it was weird, but we actually had time, because the level editor is only in Gunpoint because we had time, like, towards the end. Obviously Gunpoint took much longer than I expected it to take, and I did delay it a bunch of times, but towards the end things did just wrap up and things just closed, and I was just done in good time. I had taken 3 months off of my job, actually, so it was my first time working full-time on a game, and I think that just I got it done in like 2 months, and had time to make the level editor, and had like just a good amount of time to work on the special edition with and get all that really straight. This is going to be much tighter. Most of the special edition is done, but the developer commentary is still in progress, and we launch on Thursday, and it's Saturday night now. I'm going to be working on that pretty much non-stop. And really the big thing is that this one has felt a lot more exhausting than the previous one. And I think it's more complicated to launch a game now. And there's kind of maybe 3 things going on there. The big one that makes it feel exhausting is Next Fest, which is a great new thing. I'm very grateful for it. It's let's take a moment to appreciate this is also, in a lot of ways, the most relaxed I've ever been about a launch. I am not worried about how it will go. Like, I don't know how it's going to go. There's a huge range of possible outcomes. But I have, like, so much more confidence that we will hit a basic level of success than I ever have with the previous launch, just because of Next Fest. We just have that many wish lists. We've just seen, people have already played the game in June and had an amazing response and tons of wish lists, and there's just all these signals saying it's going to be good, people like it. I've never had that before, so that's brilliant. But Next Fest is like a launch, and to be honest, we put more effort into Next Fest than into the launch. Like, I'm thinking about the trailer. The Next Fest trailer was a real production, and I'm really proud of it. And it's our first ever try at doing a slick trailer ourselves. And I'm really happy that came out. The launch trailer is not going to be slick, and partly just because doing the same thing again would have felt like a lot of work to just repeat ourselves. Like, there isn't a lot of new information we want to show you that we didn't want to show you in June. That's still the same. The things we're holding back because they're spoilers. So, and if you want to go like a gameplay deep dive, that's not going to be slick. It's always going to be a bit, bare bones. So I've gone for sort of a hybrid. And there's some launch promotion stuff that I needed to talk about in the launch trailer. It has to be that information I have to get out there and make clear and sort of communicate the spirit in which it's intended in a very particular way. So the launch trailer kind of had to be that, and there was just no way to do that slick. So it's definitely a less polished trailer than the June one. And yeah, Next Fest, it was just such a marketing machine. You know, it just had to be. We did this stream with H-Bomber Guy. Getting the demo ready was a whole production. That was just a month, probably all told, of working on just that. Whereas Gunpoint's demo was we really just rattled that off. There was one unique conversation at the end of the Gunpoint demo, and we got so much credit for that one little twist that there was something extra in the demo at all. That's why I did something extra at the end of the Breach Wizards demo. But for the Breach Wizards demo, my bar was much higher. And actually, if you get the special edition of Breach Wizards when it comes out, you're going to find the abandoned version of the demo that we did, because I had two tries doing something extra on the demo. I was really determined there must be something extra, and it should be a bit surprising, and just have that feeling of like, oh, I wasn't expecting like this, and you get a nice little bit of delight at the end that's just for you, that's just because you played the demo. Because I want to reward people for playing a demo. We really wanted people to play the demo, even if you're really excited about the game, you know you're going to buy it and you're going to play it then. We still need you to play the demo. Like that's very much in our interests, because we need the demo to do well, and then that lets other people see the demo, and we want you to wishlist it, and that helps us in wishlist charts and stuff like that. So I wanted to make it worth your while. I didn't want it to be like, I'm just asking you for a favor, please, play a chunk of the game early, even though you'd rather wait. I wanted to make sure if you do that, let's thank you with a little thing that doesn't spoil the full game, but still feels special, and you it's something you would have missed out on if you just waited for the full game. So yeah, tons of effort and work went into June, and also I keep calling it June because it's like Next Fest and also the PC Gaming Show. That was the trailer was the PC Gaming Show. It wasn't for Next Fest specifically, but the two are it was literally the same day. So that was all part and parcel, and so I'm just kind of calling it June, the June thing. And that was also extremely stressful because something major went wrong, out of my control, in a way that I really did everything I could to try and prevent it from going wrong, and it still went wrong. That was the launch date being wrong in the PC Gaming Show. And yeah, so that just felt like I just emotionally went through a launch in June, and now I've got to do another one in August. But yeah, I mean, as I'm talking it through, I am appreciating all over again how much it counts for just to have that security of like, it's not going to bomb, it's not going to do nothing. We know there's interest out there. We've got these numbers that just tell us we're on relatively solid ground. But at the same time, it has to. Oh my god, Jess is attacking the insect screen. I've put up a whole board to stop that, but I can't. For me to come out on the balcony, I have to move that board out of the way, and after closing the insect screen, I can't then get back in to put the screen, the thing in front of the screen. I love her. She is a moron. Both of them, actually, they don't understand, so that they see some kind of insect or some kind of movement outside, and they put their claws in the insect screen. The insect screen is very fine, and I think it's really impressively strong, like metal mesh. And for a long time, Jess would put her claws in it and kind of fuck with it, and I'd say, no, get out there. But she wouldn't seriously damage it. Now they're seriously damaging it. They found a way, and they just never learn. And they don't have a good time when they do it. They get their claws stuck and they panic, and they're like, oh, get out of this thing. And I'm like, this keeps happening. It's the same place. Why are you not learning from this? Anyway, that's annoying because I can't stop it right now. I just have to hope she kind of calms down. Yeah, it's nice to have that security. So other reasons it's been complicated. The launch promo that I mentioned, this is where you do see my desperation. This is like when you've worked on something for 6.5 years, you can't afford to like fall short of that critical mass at launch. Like you can't. It would really crush me for this to just somehow not quite reach that bar of notability. Like if it isn't, one of the top 10 releases of that day, then we're in real trouble. And the risk, like I say, I'm pretty sure people are going to like it. I'm pretty sure there is an audience for it. The risk is people like waiting for a sale of like, oh, okay, cool. There's just too much to play. I'm just not going to buy it right now. So we did this heat signature too. Like my take on sort of marketing and promotion is that these days you need something to push people to buy it now rather than later. If it's something they're excited about, obviously if people aren't that interested in it, don't think it looks particularly good, then I'm not going to try and persuade them to buy it in launch week. And I'm perfectly happy for those people to wait 5 years and get it at 80% off or whatever. But I don't want people who do really want this game to sleep on it at launch and just think, I'll get it someday. I want like a little extra, push for that. And for those who do that, who are going to do that anyway, I want to reward them. I want them to get something nice for it. So yeah, we did it with Heat Signature. With Heat Signature, we did the Everything Gun. It's a unique weapon that was sort of passing through the galaxy for that week. If you play that week, you can find it, and once you find it, it's kind of unlocked in your galaxy forever. I felt like that was a good, strong incentive. It was too strong because I'm pretty sure it was 2 weeks that we ran that promotion for. I might be wrong, but I remember like getting so many panic messages from people saying somebody told me they were in hospital that week, so they can't play that week, and they're panicking about, I'm going to lose out on this thing forever. I'm like, oh God, I'm so sorry. At the time, we didn't say it would never come back. We just said we don't know if it will come back. But that was enough anxiety to create in people that I pulled back immediately and like, no, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. Don't worry. And then I think we returned it like a month later or something. So what I learned there is it's good to apply a little bit of pressure, but don't apply too much pressure, and don't bigger companies intentionally do this and like turn the pain dial as high as they can with like, if you don't get this now, you will miss out on it forever. You must get this now. It's the fucking golden god armor. If you don't get it this week, if you don't pre-order, you can never have this. They want to crank that pressure as hard as possible to squeeze you. And we cranked that dial like one notch, and we're like, oh shit, that was too much. Turn it down. So the thing with Wizards, there's a little perk for getting it in launch week. I won't go into details, but the perk you can get for launch week, you can also get afterwards. It's just part of the special edition instead of being part of the standard edition after the first week. Because I don't want to give people that panic of like, oh God, I'm going to miss out on it. It's just meant to be a little gentle nudge or a little, what's that? Gift. Just a thank you. It's just like a token of our appreciation. But that is so fucking complicated. Doing something that's only available for a week is just it's a small wrinkle, and Valve have been great helping us out with it. But any complexity around that just ripples out, and just pretty much everything to do with the launch is complicated by that one thing. Just like we're in a bundle, it complicates the bundle. The special edition itself, it complicates that because part of the special edition is going to be included in the standard edition during launch week, and I'm making the store page for the special edition right now for the upgrade. Once you bought the standard edition, you can later upgrade. That's fine. We always allow that. And so I don't think I should list that extra perk on the special edition upgrade page, because during launch week it would be misleading to say that if you buy this you get that, because during launch week you already have it, and hopefully everyone knows they already have it. But just in case anyone doesn't realize they already have it, I think it would be dishonest to have it on this. But then that means the store page for the special edition is going to have to change a week after launch, and it's just little things like that are just like, if you actually really care about being honest and like fair at every juncture, it creates so many wrinkles. I remember that being a problem with Gunpoint too. I can't remember what specifically. Oh, it was something to do like a launch discount we gave between Humble and the Steam store. If you bought on Humble, you'd paid like $1 more than you should have. I wanted the discount to be the same, but I screwed something up, and so some people paid slightly more, and I had to like personally email them all and offer them. I couldn't offer them a partial refund, so I had to offer them like a different. Yeah, I think giving them the game early or something like that. It was really complicated. But yeah, when trying to do things right is just gets more and more complicated, especially as you add complexity to the thing. So I don't know what the solution is next time. It's heat signature just naturally suited a little bonus better, I think. It was very much inspired by Hitman's elusive targets. You know, they just have like, this week only, there's this target in town. So play now and, you know, get in on the update and stuff like that. And I thought that was quite a nice way of doing it in terms of like, feels like something's happening, feels like an event. But that doesn't fit with every game, and it's hard to find. With every game, you've got to solve that problem all over again. Like, what can we do in launch week that will make it feel special? Yeah, it's a tough problem. I think it's worth solving, though, because your launch week is just so... I mean, this is what my launch trailer is going to be about. It's me talking to you, and I'm just explaining why I need you to buy it this week. And by this week, I mean the week starting Thursday. Because launch week is just going to... It's going to set your, like, level for the rest of your game's life. It's, you know, it doesn't actually change anything... there aren't like secret levels in the back end of Steam, as far as I know. I don't truly know how it works, but just in general, Steam is going to look at your launch velocity and decide how heavily to promote you to people. And that's, you know, I don't mean Valve are going to look with their eyes. I mean, like, there's an algorithm that does that, and so launch velocity is this kind of like kingmaker, I guess, for the rest of your thing. So I just need to make sure I'm not trying to make it go artificially better, but I want to make sure it doesn't go artificially poorly. I don't want it to be like just some news story, some other thing happens that day. I just don't dare look at the release calendar anymore. When we picked a release date, we looked at it a lot and thought about it a lot, but there wasn't much that was announced for specific days in August. That I'm sure there are now. I'm not going to look, because if there's something big on August 22nd, there's nothing I can do. I'm not going to miss the date. So, like, Gamescom is going on while we launch, so that's cool. Didn't know that when we picked it. And yeah, I just don't want some little debuff that I didn't know about to sink us below that critical level and have us just be, you know, misjudged by the Steam system to be less effective. And, you know, the more you dig into, like, when you're really trying to make sure your game does well and, like, fine-tune the success and get into it like that, it becomes a bit fake, right? It becomes a kind of a game of manipulating things. And, of course, all developers are always badgering Valve for, like, tell us exactly how it works. Let us know exactly what the algorithm is and let us, you know, turn these levers. And of course, Valve don't want to tell people how the algorithm works, because the more people know about how the algorithm works specifically, the more they're going to optimize for the algorithm rating them highly, rather than just trying to do a good job in general and hoping the algorithm will recognize that, which is that's what you kind of, the system you want is for everyone to developers to trust the system and just try and make a good game and be honest about it and trust that will be successful, and then for Valve to successfully recognize good games and make them do well. That's kind of the dream, and the more you get into nitty-gritty and like gaming the system, the worse it gets for everyone. But everyone is in my situation where not quite 6.5 years, but most people who worked on a game for a long time, got a lot invested in it, can't take any chances. I need to know as much as I possibly can about what the dials I can turn to ensure this goes well. You know, yeah. There's a lot riding on it. Yeah, so and there's more stuff these days that you've got to think about. There's more, you know, axes of success. PR and promotion is something I'll talk about after launch, I think. But it's exhausting trying to hit on those axes. And the other factor, I suppose, is that maybe with time, I mean, yeah, definitely to some extent, we are getting a fan base and not quite a community, because I don't support a community anyway. I don't mean like emotionally I support a community, but I don't do anything to support a community. Therefore, I will not claim that I support that we have like a community. Basically, we don't have an official Discord, we don't have an official forum, we don't do anything like that, simply because if you're going to do that, someone's got to manage it, and I can't afford to hire someone full-time to do that, and I'm certainly not going to do it. That would be a nightmare. And if you're not going to do it properly, don't do it at all, is my philosophy. You know, there is an unofficial Discord server for suspicious developments, and people, obviously there's Steam forums, but yeah, if you don't have the bandwidth to foster a community and run it well, then don't do it. I'm sure it would be to our benefit if we did do it, but that's not the same as it actually making sense to hire somebody. Apart from anything, just hiring people is incredibly costly in terms of management cost. Like we are tiny. I've been interviewing our team for the developer commentary, and there's 4 people other than me, and 2 of them were added to the project fairly late in the grand scheme of things. I mean, I'm still on it for years, but but on this size of a project, there was a lot of time that they weren't on it. So it's a tiny team, and the biggest problem is just that I am the manager and I own the company, and I'm just the sort of access point for so many different things, and so there can't be I will not add to my burdens on that side of things, because running a business and managing a team and all of these duties you have in that position are not things I'm good at, and they're not things I enjoy. And so I cannot increase the bandwidth. And I know, well, why don't you hire a manager to do that for you? Because then I'm managing that person, and the process of hiring them, it's a very difficult needle to thread, because it has to be someone you trust with your life, who you are on exactly the same wavelength with. And because if there's any discord there, then my life is so much worse, because now I'm managing somebody else to try and get them to do it the way I would do it, and I will be just thinking, just get out of my way and let me do it. Like, doing it yourself has a lot of benefits, but you must not overburden yourself, especially if it's something you don't have a big capacity for. So that's why we're a small team. I can't remember why I was saying we're a small team. Oh yeah, I was slowly getting around to the point that we are building a base of people who know our games and are interested in what we make next, and that gives us a bit of security. And my dream is to hit it big enough that next time we don't need to do so much to ensure the game does well, to just have that the security we've had a bit of with Breach Wizards. If we had enough of that next time, that we could just chill out about launch and spend the time focusing on the game and not on promoting the game, that would be lovely. And again, farming that out externally is not the time and effort saver that you might think. So it's that it would be nice just to not have the burden of doing that in the first place. Yeah, so I mentioned developer commentary, part of the special edition, and something I've been working on this last week. That's been really fun to do. And did I talk about this last time? Now I'm struggling to remember. My brain is mush, so you just have to forgive me if I did. I've interviewed the team for it, and then I'm going to record a bunch myself. I have recorded a bunch myself. The size of the task is scary, because inevitably it's in-game, so we're adding commentary nodes to the levels, and they won't be on every level, but early on they are on pretty much every level, because early on there's a ton of new things to talk about. And so my to-do list for these, I've made a table of here are all the levels and here are what I'm going to talk about on which ones, and I'm not even done with mission 1. I'm not even done with mission 2 yet, and there's about like 95 levels in the game, so I think there's about 20 missions maybe, because there's about 5 levels per mission, maybe 4. So I'm not a huge way through it, but it's incredibly dense early on, and then much sparser as you go along, which is just inevitable, because there just isn't as much new stuff in the back half of the game as there is in the front half of the game. I mean, front half of the game itself is new, so you're explaining everything about how it works on a fundamental level. There's so much to get through there, and by the time you've got through all that, some of the stuff in the previous levels now needs explaining too, and there is stuff we can talk about there that's of interest. So yeah, it looks a bit daunting. I don't know how how far I'm going to get through it, how fast I'm going to get through it. But it is a somewhat scalable thing. I've written a list of everything I have something to say about, and I'll just do the ones I have time for and get them in there. And if there's stuff that I miss, I can always add it, as a little bonus later. But I think it should be fine. I think the stuff that I record by myself is very easy to record. I knew that arranging interviews with a team was going to be an extra production thing, so I really got ahead of it. I was, made sure to start it a week earlier than I thought I needed to, and to arrange and find time with everybody. And then of course you've got to have everybody record their own end, and then merge those together. Our composer Rob has actually handled that for us, which is great. And there's a whole production, challenges with that where I knew there would be technical issues with this, and there were. I think of the 4 interviews, only one had no problems with it in terms of like some kind of technical difficulties. In some cases, it was just like somebody, we had this challenge, so we had to do it a different way, and it's fine. In other cases, like the first section is going to be slightly different audio quality because this thing went wrong, there's just so many things that can go wrong with audio recording. It's absurd. This whole mic situation is evidence of that, as you've heard. I am forever struggling to find a decent audio setup for even just talking to a camera. I was about to say in ideal circumstances, but actually I'm next to a very noisy road, so not ideal circumstances. But even when I am in ideal circumstances, it's still really hard to find a single fucking microphone that can just record at a normal volume so that I don't have to do post-processing on everything. Audio is hard. But yeah, it's really nice to go back through the whole thing and just like reminisce, I guess, and talk about that stuff. So a big job, but a fun job. And I've got to get through it pretty fast because like we launch on Thursday. I feel like Wednesday's going to be a write-off in terms of prepping all the sort of announcement posts and stuff. We've already done an announcement post and that's sort of ready. And then there's just so many other avenues through which we need to tell people about the game. And then there's just going to be a whole load of new fires to put out next week, I know. So it's going to be hard to find the time. I wanted to do an update on RSI stuff because I actually had quite a good week on that. My personal trainer last week asked me if I'd tried, I told him that my forearm's usually what fixes it, but it wasn't working these days, not fully anyway. And he said, have you tried your triceps? And I've never noticed any tightness on my upper arm, but then I found a muscle in my tricep that was like, oh fuck, that's really tight. And working on that with a lacrosse ball has made a big difference. I haven't quite mastered it yet. Today's been my first day where I had to stop work because of pain. But that's really good going. That's a whole week where that hasn't happened, is really good going. And one of those days I actually worked into the evening. I kind of did a sort of double day, really. I worked in the office and then came home and did a whole other evening's worth of work because I suddenly realized that we needed to get the trailer done a lot faster than I thought. The trailer's done now. So I just had to work on that, and it didn't destroy me. I was the next day my tolerance for computer work was lower. I had to take my breaks more seriously and had more pain to sort of deal with in the breaks. Again, pain's a strong term for what I was experiencing at that point, just discomfort. It was more of an issue. But the crucial thing is none of this week have I woken up with pain, which is really nice. That's usually, if I wake up with pain, it's a bad sign. It's just not great to be experiencing pain, but also it's fuck, it's hurting. I've just had a whole 8 hours of rest and it's hurting now. My chances of being able to do work and have it not flare up is bad. And like I say, once it flares up, all bets are off really, because now you can't tell what's aggravating it and what isn't, because everything aggravates it, and it's just such a bad situation. So I really want to stay on that side of the line where I'm not accumulating any debt in my muscles that's going to haunt me the next day. And so far so good. Today, I was really set on there's one more thing I really wanted to get done today, and I just had to stop. No, I can't take risks with this. This is, I took a break, I massaged, and I went back to work. And as I sat down and I started to use a mouse, I'm like, nah, this isn't feeling. I can feel it already, and I can't risk aggravating it. So, that's why I'm recording this. Actually, it's just gotta use this energy in in a way that doesn't require hands and give you yet another one of these updates. I guess this will be the last one before launch because I can't imagine myself having time for this between now and launch. I guess I'll do one post-launch maybe. I mean, who knows post-launch? All bets are off. I'm going to be curled up in a ball. We'll see whether it's a happy ball or a sad ball.